It's Tuesday, November 20th, Wednesday, November 21st, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on the SOR Newswire and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel and Suho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Insuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. Our original guest for tonight, due to work commitments, had to cancel last minute. But alas, guess what, guys and girls? The show must go on. So I thought it would be cool, since we haven't really discussed this topic in a long time, and it was quite short notice, to have Paranoia Magazine's Olav Phillips on tonight to talk about his passions, space, the secret space program, black projects, and so much more. Now, most of you will recognize Olav from our news section. Don't worry, the president of Team Stump will still stick around for the news as well. But tell me, when you look up at the stars and you see something weird up there, don't you wonder if it's one of ours or one of theirs? Mr. Olav, been a long time since I got to interview you. How you doing, my friend?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm great. I am great. You know, I want to say thank you for popping on in short notice like this, my friend. I really do appreciate it. And you know this business, man. You got to have a guest. You got to have something to talk about. And we haven't talked about the secret space program in a long, long time. So I think we're due.
You know, it's always a good topic.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. Olav, the people around here for the last few weeks have got to know you as being our intrepid Team Stump president and reporter for the SOR Newswire and Paranoia Magazine. But a lot of people may not know your background as to how you got involved with learning and studying and researching the secret space program, black projects, and all of that fun stuff.
Oh, boy. It all started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was laying in bed. This is the early 80s. I was laying in bed, and I was reading, I think, a Choose Your Own Adventure, of all the things to read, and just hanging out in my bed and reading. And I looked up from my book, and there was a bluish-white light in front of my window. And I lived on the second, my room was on the second floor of a condo, and we had flat roofs. So this thing was hovering probably about 6 inches off the roof. And then the roof kind of dropped down to another flat portion of the roof, which was the garage. And, I looked at it, and it was bright, but it was not blinding. It lit up my room because I was reading with a flashlight. And for whatever reason, I like reading with a flashlight. It's just an idiosyncrasy. But, and so I said, okay, that's not cool. I'm going to keep reading my book and it's going to go away. And so I kept reading. And it didn't go away. And so I hid under my blankets. I thought, I got my little lovey and held onto it tight, and I hid under my comforter, and it wouldn't go away. And I popped my head back up, still there. Go under, pop my head back up, it's still there. So I'm thinking, I don't know what this is. I was really confused and confounded and scared. I was scared out of my mind. And so I worked up the courage to make a run for it. And it was probably, 5 feet to my door, and then it was probably another 3 feet or 4 feet, probably about 4 feet across the hallway to my parents' room. And so I bolted for the door. I got through the door, and I'm like, okay, I'm safe. And so I opened my parents' door. My parents are snoozing away. I was staying up a little later than I should have. And I woke my dad up, which is not very hard. And I said, Dad, I'm scared. He goes, what is it? Don't worry. I'm here. Nothing's going to happen. I said, okay. He's like, what's wrong? And and he's sitting up at this point. And I said, well, you were in the Air Force. My grandpa was in the Air Force. You grew up around planes. You were in the Air Force. You saw a lot of airplanes. There's something outside my window, and I don't know what it is. And I think you have the best shot, at knowing what it is. And he goes, okay, well, get behind me. My dad was in law enforcement in the Air Force. So he had a baton, like a billy club. It was an issued billy club, and he grabbed that thing, pulled it out from the bed. He's got it in his right hand. He's like, stay behind me. Puts his arm around and puts his hand on my stomach. He's like, stay right there and follow me in. So we open the door. We get in there, and it's gone. And he says, hey, everything's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm here. All you need to do is yell, and I'll be in here in a minute. And, my dad was in Vietnam, so he's a light sleeper anyway, but I think his time in Southeast Asia made him a little lighter of a sleeper, as you'd imagine. And so I finally worked my way into going to sleep. I go to school the next day, back when elementary schools had libraries. It was library day, so I go into the library and I tell the librarian, because when you're a kid, right, the librarian is more than just a librarian, right? In our case, it was a woman. She was a teacher who taught us about library science. She was kind of like your guide. Oh, I want to find a book about dinosaurs. It's like, okay, here's a Dewey Decimal Number. But what kind of dinosaur are you into? And she was kind of like your guide to books. So I go to the counter. We had a counter, and I go to the counter and say, remember, I'm like 7 or 8. I saw something weird outside my window, and I want to figure out what it was. And she goes, okay, well, the airplane books are on, a Dewey Decimal 1, 2, 4, got 3, 2, 4, whatever, right? That's wrong, I know, but bear with me. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I know about airplanes. I'm like, this wasn't an airplane. This was something else. And she says, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat, all the smoke. And she says, oh, you want those books? And I'm like, yeah, whatever it is, point me in that direction. So, and I can even tell you to this day, I'm 43, and I can still tell you where those books were. They were in the last bookshelf on the left side. Against, there were windows, and there was another set of books, like bookshelves that were lower. They kind of went under the windows. And the bookshelf that I was interested in was to the right. And they were on the bottom shelf at the very end, like closest to the door, away from the wall. And there were a couple of UFO books in there, surprisingly, for an elementary school. And I got J. Allen Hynek, his book. I got Jack Foley, Messengers of Deception. I hope these fires end soon. I got Messengers of Deception, and I got Mysteries of Time and Space by the late Brad Steiger, brother Brad. And so I took them in the front, I checked them out, and I got this kind of like funny look, half-hearted smile from her, and I'm like, whatever, put them in my backpack, rode home, and I'm going to crack this mystery, right? I'm going to crack this nut wide open. I'm 8 years old. I got the keys to the universe. I'm going to figure this thing out. So I tried to read Hynek, and it was just way too dense. I just could not process it. It was just too complicated. I tried Valley. It was good. I've read the book since then, but it was good, but it was too convoluted because it was about, there was a lot of it that's about history and things happening over time. but it wasn't clear. It wasn't definite enough for me. And so then I got to Brad Steiger, and Brother Brad, he was a hell of a writer. And I picked that book up and I just went through it like twice. And it just blew my mind, time vortexes and UFOs and ghosts and all manner of weirdness. And it launched me on a path. Did not find the answer to what I was looking for, but I became fascinated. And then I kept reading stuff. I go to the library. I pretty much read all the UFO and paranormal books they had. And then it really kind of catalyzed for me. We went up to the Yukon, and when we were coming back, we went through Vancouver, and we went into a bookstore, and I got an Osborne book for kids about weird stuff with like ghosts and UFOs and witchcraft and all this stuff. And I got that. I still have it to this day. And that really made it bad. But I've been trying to figure out what I saw ever since. And I still don't have a good answer. So there you go.
You know what? You triggered something in me, my friend. You triggered something in me. Because last night, I haven't even told you this. Last night I had a visitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, sometimes you just wake up in the you just wake up in the middle of the night sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I woke up last night because there was a light shining in my eye. Because Mrs. SOR and I sleep with the door open because in case little SOR needs to, find one of us, it's easy for him. So we sleep with our door open. Well, I happen to be sleeping on my left side, and, I all of a sudden kind of got the image of light. So I opened up my eyes, and I kind of sat up a little bit and saw the hallway light was on. And then I saw a shadow figure of an adult walk down my hall and turn the light off. Now, I only saw the shadow figure for about a second and a half, 2 seconds. And then as soon as I lost sight of him, the light went off. And the light switch is probably another 15 feet away. And I thought it was Mrs. SOR. Till I laid back down in my grogginess and realized that she was right beside me.
That's creepy.
Kind of. I'm a little weirded out by it because I've had a few strange things happen in headquarters here, but I haven't seen anything in the house. And to finally...
Well, do you know the history? Do you know the history of the land?
Oh, dude, it's my entire area is haunted. Absolutely haunted. Okay. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It being haunted or anything like that. But I can tell you this. It was a little weird because I hadn't had anything happen in a long time like that. And I know it wasn't alien. It was definitely ghostly. Definitely ghostly. But, I mean, now I'm wondering, because a couple of years ago, I actually had, Olav, this... I was sleeping, when you're just about to get into that nice deep sleep. And I was just at that point. And I felt my right ankle be lifted up. And I remember saying to whatever was lifting up my ankle, I said, "Do you mind? I'm trying to get some sleep here." And they put my ankle down gently. And I thought it was the funniest thing. Honestly, that's probably one of my funniest paranormal experiences. But now I'm left wondering if this was the same guy. Don't know.
Sounds like it. Well, yeah. After I saw that light, I've never really discussed this with, I've discussed this with a few people, but not a tremendous number. But after probably a year, after I saw that light when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And you have to remember, this is the early 80s. Hold on. Oh, I thought I heard.
No, you run.
Funny, sorry.
No, you run away.
Oh.
You run.
So about a year after that happened, I had a weird dream. Maybe it was 2 years. I had a weird dream, and in the dream, I woke up, and I think it was a dream because, like, you know, when you're dreaming and everything is like taller than it's supposed to be, right? Like my window was only maybe, I don't know, 4 feet from the floor. Maybe 3 feet, 4 feet from the floor. But like in the dream, it was higher. And I remember I woke up and I could hear things rustling around on the roof. And remember, this is the 80s, so, you know, this idea of, you know, the X-Files and all this kind of stuff, you know, we didn't have that. I mean, we had Ripley's Believe It or Not with Jack Palance, but we weren't even at sightings yet, you know. And the only stuff that I knew about the paranormal or UFOs or anything like that was stuff that I'd read. And, you know, I'm a kid, so my ability to retain some of that stuff was very limited. And I had this, and I heard some rustling on the roof. And because the roof had rocks on it, like little tiny rocks. And I went to the window and I peeked over the window. You know, I'm 6'3". I mean, even when I was a kid, I was fairly tall. So the idea of me peeking over the ledge of the window is kind of ridiculous. I could climb out it, you know, I used to.
Yeah.
But I peeked over the window and I saw feet moving around on the roof. And then I looked up and I saw
Santa Claus?
What I would call today, a gray.
Oh.
And yeah, and there were probably 24 of them on the roofs of the condos because you know they're side by side. Yeah, and they were jumping from roof to roof, and I remember the skin. It was kind of greenish gray, and it was kind of like neoprene. It seemed like a suit, kind of a suit with no zipper, and then the next thing I remember, I was walking. I was on the roof, and then I remember then I was on the driveway, and I was walking out down the driveway to where the street was, and there were probably 15 or 20 other people there, all standing out there in their pajamas, and we were looking up, and there's a hill. Not very tall hill, but there's like kind of like a hill. It's tall enough, and there was it has a funny history by itself. That they had tried to develop it and put houses on it, and the original people who had bought the land, they went bankrupt, and so then another company came in, and they put in a road all the way to the top, and then they flattened out the tiers so they could put houses on them, and then they went bankrupt. And so it was this constantly going bankrupt cycle. And so there's this hill. If you're sitting down, it would probably go up. From your point of view, it would be maybe double my fence, tall to me. So probably a good maybe 12 feet, 13 feet high, perspective-wise. And there was like a cigar-shaped UFO like hovering over it, and it was all the hill was all lit up.
Wicked.
And I just remember standing out there going, "What the hell is that?" Yeah, I had a 2 more drink. I still remember vividly. You know, I was telling somebody once, and they were really perplexed by it, and I said, I can actually draw you a map. And I went on Google Earth, and you know how you can put waypoints and lines. I actually drew on Google Earth the way I walked, because I still remember to this day. And, I stood out there for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then nothing until I woke up the next morning.
That's weird. We only got about 2 minutes before we got it. We only got about 2 minutes before we have to go to break here. But it's amazing how real it can seem. And the harshness of having an experience like that, Olav, is you don't know whether it was a dream or an actual reality. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think I got it from Project UFO. It was an old show in the late 70s that I had watched. But I don't know if I got it from there and reading the books, and I don't know what. I don't know. It is just very vivid. The clicking sounds. It was really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And the feet were weird. They looked like boots.
One of my good friends here. One of my good friends, Mark, he's known in the chat room as Bazooka Joe.
Okay.
He helps me out with my ghost tour. We call him Bazooka Joe because the guy is like completely addicted to having a small army built up in his house. Anyways, he went outside to grab something before the ghost tour. He wasn't feeling quite right. He was feeling uneasy in the house, and he goes, I just had to get out. And he called me outside because right where he was standing, right below him, there was a claw mark with 5 fingers in the snow.
Ugh.
Right there. Mark is a professional tracker, okay? Like he's a hunting guide, professional tracker in the wilderness. He knows his footprints. He knows what is kicked up and what is walked on and everything like that. He is one of the most skeptical dudes. Like this guy, man, there's been times where I said, oh, that looks like a big footprint. No, that's a horse print with a bear print on the other side. Right? Like that's just how accurate he is. But yeah, he saw that. Oh, he's in the chat room now. We got Olav Phillips coming up here for the show, Paranoia Magazine. We're going to get into deep space talk right after this on the Mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. We got Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine on the show tonight, going the distance as we are talking Black Project, Secret Space Program. Did we walk on the moon? Anthony, the tattoo man, wants to know on Twitter. He doesn't believe it. I do, though. Anthony, we're going to have to drop the gloves on that one. Have to drop the gloves. But nonetheless, I know you're good for it, brother. I know you're good for it. Olav, welcome back.
Thanks. We should talk about the moon. The moon's fascinating.
Well, let's get into the moon. Let's get into the moon right now.
Well,
I'm a firm believer we went there, man. I'm a firm believer we went there.
Oh, I am too. Absolutely. I absolutely believe we went. My argument, though, is that Armstrong and Aldrin were not the first ones there. But I definitely believe they went. Yeah. But I think we were there for some time before they ever arrived.
Now, what gives you that? What makes you think that?
The secret space program, as we understand it, I think has its inception. And by the way, I need a pass on the clear of my throat thing. It's all the fire. But I think it really started in the late 50s. And in the late 50s, there were three main plans to go to the moon. 2 American, 1 Soviet. And the first one was Horizon. I think Horizon was the earliest. And that called for, by 1961, the Army believed that they could have 100 soldier astronauts living in pressurized Quonset huts buried by regolith. The second was the Air Force, and that was called Lunex. And Lunex was much more ambitious. It was to have a rocket, kind of like Falcon 9 style, that would land on the moon and could actually move around. They believed they could have 30 guys on the moon by 1962. And then the third one was Zvezda, which was a Soviet. They wanted to have a full-blown moon base by 59, I think. Plus a lot of the developments of the Germans back in the 40s. I think it would be perfectly reasonable for them to have a base up there. The Germans, if they had survived and kept on that trajectory by the early 50s, they probably would have had a base on the moon.
I have troubles believing that, Olav. And, as I state on this show a number of times, I have a lot of tinfoil on. Okay? I wear a lot of tinfoil because I like my woo with a lot of cheese. All right? But saying that we were on the moon in the late 50s, early 60s, that one's tough for me. That one's really tough. I mean, I can understand, and just let me discuss this for a second. I can understand, my friend, that we had a real technological boom from the mid-50s to the late 50s. Big time. Once we cracked the sound barrier. All right? And to go from prop planes to building a Mach 3.3 aircraft in the SR-71 from 1955 to 1954 to 1959. I do believe that something did happen, that we did get some really cool technology from aliens. But going to the moon at that point, I just cannot see it. It's hard for me to fathom.
Well, let me give you a different timeline. Okay. So I have a friend named Walter Bosley, and if you guys want to read some amazing books, go and search for Walter Bosley. He is the Friends from Sonora, and a lot of the books he's written are absolutely amazing. In fact, what I'm about to talk to you about is actually the cover story for the current issue of Paranoia, issue 65. Walter has an obsession. Well, he has a couple of obsessions, but one in particular is around something called the Sonora Aero Club. And this is these are the mysterious airships of 1897. Supposedly in the late 1800s, a group called the Sonora Aero Club was building dirigibles, not blimps, but not balloons exactly. But I guess dirigible is a good word for it. They were building dirigibles that were powered by some sort of mysterious power source, and they'd fly these things around, and they were based out of Sonora, California. And there was another group called NIMSA. And NIMSA was, for most of the history of the Arrows, NIMSA has been somewhat mysterious. They were always kind of referred to as the Europeans. And Walter has done a lot of research to figure out who those guys actually are. But there were kind of competing forces. You had like the Americans and the Europeans, right? So in going through in the process of this whole Arrow thing, there was a guy named Delschow. And Delschow had come from Europe, Germany, and he was, through NIMSA, had become acquainted with the Sonora Aero Club. And he was helping them do Arrow stuff. And in later years, he actually documented the designs of all these arrows, these weird dirigibles, that actually made it as far as Texas and the East Coast. The mysterious airship wave of 1897, there are stories all through the South, the Southwest, of these weird dirigibles landing and these guys getting out and talking with the ranchers or whatever. Well, Delschow had documented the designs, basically the schematics of how these airships worked, and he did it artistically. I guess it was the only way he knew how. And some of them are these weird collages, and other ones are drawings, and they're very strange. But he documented them all. And have Walter on; he'll give you the whole rundown on Delschow. But excuse me. But eventually, these books that Delschow had written had come into the hands of an art collector. They had been saved out of a garbage can or something. And the guy published them. And so Walter's going through all these drawings. And, I mean, there's a lot of them. It's an entire coffee table book that's like, I don't know, an inch thick. And there's tons of these. Well, he found one in particular which had it showed the power source for the arrow. And it looked remarkably like the bell. This is the Nazi bell, right, that everybody talks about with Hans Kammler and all that. So apparently this arrow, which was one of the more sophisticated ones, actually had a bell power source. And it has arrows that point about how it rotates. And it shows that it counter-rotates. And all the things about it are very consistent with what we believe about the bell. And so, that seems to indicate that the bell as an entity, as a power source, existed in 1890. Then you fast forward to the Germans in the mid 40s, in 44, 45. You have the whole Kammler thing, and there's some intrigue about Kammler. Kammler is a very interesting dude, but he was in control of the Bell program at Derisi in the Hartz Mountains, and he was using the Bell as a power source for what you euphemistically call a UFO. And at the same time, they were experimenting with other things like the Vril, and there's some other ones where, using vortex engines and other things. But the most consistent one, and that's brought to us by a guy named Jacob Sporenberg, which is a whole nother story. But the bell, was housed in this thing called the Haunebu, which looks like a UFO. So if the Germans had perfected it, they obviously started in the 1890s. If they had perfected it by 1944, I don't know that what would limit them and where they could go with it inside, the solar system per se. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to think that they could have used that technology to get to the moon. Plus, with the moon, you've got a bunch of other weird things about the moon. There's a thing called transient light phenomenon that occurs on the moon. And they have, this goes back a long time, but they have detailed observations from astronomers where they will see lights moving across the surface of the moon through the telescopes. They actually document it, and it's a book at NASA where they keep logs of all the times that these lights are seen moving across the surface of the moon. And, a lot of people have taken photos, NASA photos, and analyzed them and found things like tractor tracks and all kinds of weird stuff. So, to say that there's a base on the moon, if you believe the bell at all, they had a power source to get there. All they would be limited by is it's not really fuel consumption. It's more like weight. How much weight could they actually put into a Haunebu and still get it to take off? And you're talking about the same scientists that came over here on paper clips. So you're going to have that knowledge set move. By the late 40s, they were working on the V10. I think it was a V10 or V11, which was a potentially multi-stage rocket, even if you want to go the rocketry route. So we were much more sophisticated in the 40s than we let lead people to believe. In fact, I'll give you a funny one. I know the Wikipedia is good and it's bad, but there are certain things where it is somewhat accurate. And if you go to the Wikipedia and you search for nuclear accidents, one of the first nuclear accidents that you find occurred in the late 30s in Werner Heisenberg's lab. That he was working on a reactor, nuclear reactor in the late 30s, and he had some sort of a containment breach. That's in the 30s. There are stories that the Germans set off a nuclear bomb, a low yield nuclear bomb in a remote island in the Scandinavian area. So, the technology was there. The will was there. I don't know what would limit us from going up there. And that's not even getting into how they faked a lot of the photos and all that.
It's still tough to believe. Like, I realized we were developing rocketry out of Project Paperclip and the V rockets that Germany built during World War II. So obviously we were building up to that type of technology. That is very understandable. But to go from that and 10 years later be landing someone on the moon, and you're saying that we actually did it beforehand, that's where I think a lot of people find this issue kind of contentious. And I realize you just gave a long explanation for that, and I appreciate that. But at some point, people always ask, where's the proof? Where has this been hidden? Did they throw it in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, much like the Canadian Armed Forces did with the Avro program in the 1960s when they shut it down into Lake Ontario? Like, where is all this proof?
Where's proof of what? The Haunebu? Or the bell or all that?
The rockets, the bell, the rockets that got
the rockets. You're hung up on the rockets. You got to let the rockets go.
Hey, they red glare, my friend. They red glare.
I like rockets too. In fact, I always get a laugh of seeing Werner von Braun hanging out there with Walt Disney talking about the pinwheel in space and all that crap. You're hung up on the rockets. I think the first thing you need to do is shed the notion of rockets. I don't think they use rockets to get there. Look, the bell, the whole bell thing. Kecksburg lines up with the bell. a lot of things line up with the bell. What Walter found in the Delschau paintings about the bell, it's the bell. I mean, if you look at it, it's the bell, right? So, if you're willing to make a leap of the bell existed, I mean, you have the transportation to get there. Okay, I'll give you a better example, right? Betty and Barney Hill. You know them, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they're driving along down a lonely road. It's always a lonely road. This UFO, this is what we're told. They're driving along a road. This UFO lands. They're taken aboard. They see some aliens. There's a star map, and then they wake up and there's all this lost time. Right? Great movie. Good book too. But that's not what actually happened. If you read the actual transcripts, right, which are very easy to find, if you read the transcripts of Betty and Barney Hill, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, when the first time that they were hypnotically regressed, it paints a very different picture. So they're driving down the road. They see this thing. It looks like a flying saucer. They see this thing come out, and it lands in front of them. Barney stops the car, and they're scared, right? And so Barney had a Colt 45 from, I guess, when he was in the Army. He had a Colt 45 in the car, which was not, at that time, unfortunately, was probably not such a bad idea. So Barney gets out of the car, and he actually shoots at the thing, and the bullets bounce off. And so these men walk out of it, and they take them aboard the ship. And when he describes the people on board the ship, he describes them as being tall, kind of Nordic looking, and they're wearing black jumpsuits with silver piping, and they have peaked caps. And he actually recognized the uniform in the actual regression. He says they look like Nazis because a black jumpsuit with silver piping and a peaked cap is what the SS Panzer units, what Panzer crews used to wear. Okay, so they're met by a red-headed Irishman on board the ship, and he has a German Shepherd. And the red-headed Irishman, and this will become interesting in a moment, the red-headed Irishman leads them through the ship and shows them all through this UFO. Okay, then he escorts them out of the UFO and back to the car, and then they wake up some time later. Now, there are two very interesting things besides the fact that he described tall guys wearing Nazi-looking jumpsuits. The red-headed Irishman. So if it's a alien UFO, why is there a red-headed Irishman with a German Shepherd? Right? I mean, that's got to be the first question you ask yourself. Why would Greys have a red-headed Irishman with a German Shepherd? The second question you ask, well, they wouldn't. The second question you ask yourself is, okay, I'm on a ship filled with Germans, potentially. Why is there a red-headed Irishman with a German Shepherd? That actually has an interesting answer. It turns out that during World War II, the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, who is fighting the English for the freedom of Northern Ireland, actually aligned themselves as the parts of the Irish Republic, aligned themselves with the Germans. And actually large numbers of IRA soldiers went to Germany to be trained, and the Nazis supplied them with weapons. In fact, really? the connection was so tight that there was actually a Irish SS unit that fought in World War II with the German SS units. They were SS infantry, and there were Irishmen that fought in the Condor Legions in the Spanish Civil War. So the IRA actually had a very tight relationship with the Nazis at the time. So, if you go with the Nazi survival myth, and by the way, I always like to preface this conversation with, I think Nazis are bad. I think they're terrible people, and I think they did some really disgusting stuff. So please don't think that I adore them in any way, shape, or form. I think they were abhorrent, awful, terrible people that did awful, terrible things. But they did some interesting stuff as well. And that I think made a difference in the larger secret space program. So the other thing that always bothered me about the whole Betty and Barney Hill thing is the Marjorie Fish star map. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I studied archaeology and anthropology and sociology when I was in college. My major was actually anthropology and sociology. Okay, and one of the classes that I was, as an anthropology major, was required to take, and I did physical archaeology, primatology, all that stuff. The cultural, I did ethnographics. But I had to take linguistics. And one of the things that my linguistics professor, this guy named Yangoyan, one of the things that he always used to drill into us is that when you make a map, because maps are linguistic artifacts, when you make a map, it's very ethnocentric, meaning that it's ego-driven. You make the map with points on the map that are of cultural significance. For example, where I live, we have a big mountain. So, if I'm going to give you directions, and we didn't have, Google Maps, I'm going to tell you, keep the mountain on your right. It's big. You can't miss it. Keep the mountain on your right. Always keep the mountain on your right, and you'll get to the river, right? Well, if we're going to make a map of planets or stars or anything else, the point in the center is going to be our star, Sol, because everything emanates from Sol to wherever you're going to go.
Olive, I'm going to cut you off on that thought. I'm going to cut you off on that thought right there because we do got to go to break here, my friend. We have to get out of here. Continue that thought. Olav Phillips, Secret Space Program, Black Ops, UFOs, the Moon, and maybe some beard talk coming up on Spaced Out Radio, hour number 2, right after this. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Mike Morin joins us from Haunted Crew of Canada for Ghosts of the Great White North. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. at spacedoutradio.com. We say hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Maravodage. Maravodage is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, or pronounce it wisely, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter, make that the SOR Space Wire, put together by Captain Shirk, and so much more. Olav Phillips is with us from Paranoia Magazine tonight. We are getting into Secret Space Program, Did We Land on the Moon, and so much more. Olav, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that.
No problem.
One of the big theories out there, Olav, is about the Van Allen belt.
Right.
All right. A lot of people don't believe we've gone to the moon because of the radiation in the belt, saying that we don't have the technology to get through that without harming life as we speak, and that's why we've never gone to the moon, or gone back for that matter. Is it that thick? Is it that radiating? Or is it mythical, in your opinion?
I think it's pretty thick and pretty irradiating. I mean, a lot of astronauts have had cancer. I think it's being cooped up in a tin can. You know, I spoke with a cosmonaut once, a guy by the name of Georgi Grechko, and he was up in a mirror. And I asked him, I said, "What's it like to live in a mirror?" And he said it was like being like living in a Coke can circling the Earth. And, you know, they do things to try to shield it, but heavy-duty shielding is too heavy. So I think they just irradiate them. A lot of astronauts get cancer. You know, there is a part of the space station, I guess, that has water, which is supposed to shield them in the event of some sort of a irradiated wave coming toward them. But no, I think we definitely go through it. I think we've been to the moon. I think we have people there now. But, you know, conventionally, no, I think we landed on the moon, and I think a lot of astronauts get cancer from it. It's just the price you pay.
No, I understand that, and I can appreciate that. You know, and you know what? We got to make sacrifice for glory. That's what happens. Yeah. It's part of the run that we do on things. And, you know, I think astronauts realize that going in, that you could get some sort of definite disease coming out of that. And it's that's why they get paid a lot of money, though.
Well, I think it's also, you know, you look at when they announce, and again, this is speaking conventionally, right? We're not talking about the secret space program or anything like that, but, you know, they announced, you know, hey, we're going to go to Mars. Who volunteers? It's a one-way trip. It's a suicide mission. Thousands of people volunteer to go because they want to go. You know, they're willing to trade their lives for it. So, you know, I think that the astronauts, it's funny, I have an entire wall. My friend Rich He passed away, and he left me his collection, and I actually have literally an entire wall of signed photos of pretty much everybody who landed on the moon, except for Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. And those two photos are actually kept by his wife. But I got the rest. So I actually have a wall, official NASA photos with the signatures of everybody who went.
Very nice.
And, I look at that wall and I think to myself, these guys, they went, I think they didn't do it just for ego. Some did, but I think that a lot of them, felt that they were doing something greater than themselves. And so they went, whatever the cost was.
Yeah, and I can see where that would be the way it's done, okay? I can totally see that that's the way it's done. And I do believe, like I said, that we have gone to the moon, that we have landed on the moon. But with that danger of the Van Allen belt and whatever else lies deep and beyond that, even beyond the moon, do you think that there is, if we did, and like they're talking about putting another rover up on Mars in 2020, do you think that if we've already been there, that we have been able, in a secret space program kind of way, we've been able to figure out how to block that radiation, or at least have some sort of cure for it if anything cancerous comes up, and they're just not telling people about it?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the first things is that I think they kicked the problem. Number one, I think they passed through the Van Allen belts much faster than, if you're using a chemical rocket. And the second is that you're no longer dealing with having to lift all that stuff with a chemical engine. So I think that they can lift a lot more weight and apply a lot more shielding. So between the shielding and the thrust capacity of the whatever they're using now, I think they're just clearing it faster, and they have enough armor on it, so to speak, to get through it without doing significant damage. And I would like to point out that if you use a telescope, you can actually, you have a high enough power telescope, there are times you can actually find the lower part of the lander, the LEM. You can actually see it. So, in order to fake that all the way through would have been very sophisticated, because something landed there. They put up, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that during the lunar missions, the Apollo missions, they actually put mirrors on the surface of the moon, and and NASA hits those mirrors with a laser, and they can actually figure out like the actual distance between us and the moon, and they use it for calibration. So, again, it would have had to have been very sophisticated to fake it.
So where are these hidden bases?
Probably mostly on the far side, I would imagine, because we don't really see it. I think that, when the Apollo, when Aldrin and Armstrong landed on the moon, they were actually off target. And there was some, if you listen to the descent, the lunar descent, there's some stress there because they're running out of fuel and they're trying to get this thing on the moon. But I think when they landed off target, it wasn't prepared for them. So that's where you get a lot of the fakery that's pretty obvious, the sea on the rock. And, when you see them driving around on the lunar rover, it's like Looney Tunes. You see the same mountains over and over again. It's also important to remember, and Hoagland is actually the guy that really pointed this out, is that for everybody listening that actually saw it on TV, what you were actually seeing was a television camera pointed at a TV that was getting a feed from NASA. Right? So, it's not like these images were being pipelined straight to NBC or CBS. They actually had a television camera pointed at a TV. So, that could have been manipulated very easily. So I think there's a fair amount of evidence that at least some of the photos, not all of them, but some of them were faked. And I think it was faked to cover up the fact that you probably could see stuff in the distance. And, there are a lot of famous weird remarks that the astronauts make about seeing lights in the sky or seeing something on the opposing ridge or whatever. And I think that's why.
Dale has an interesting comment in the SOR Space Travelers. Uncle Dale, you never know if it's him or his mustache, making the comment.
Power stash.
The power stash is amazing on Uncle Dale. He's saying the problem is not going through the Van Allen belts. The problem is the great increase in cosmic rays once you get outside of the protection of the Van Allen belts. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, the Apollo missions were not that well shielded. And, a lot of astronauts get cancer. They get cancer and weird ailments. As they get older, they have all kinds of weird ailments. And I think a lot of it is directly as a result of that travel. Because once you clear the Van Allen radiation belt, you're bombarded with cosmic rays. That's what the radiation belts do, is they actually deflect a lot of that for us. But you get into space beyond them, you don't have any kind of protection. So, I'm 99% sure we went, but a lot of astronauts, even space shuttle astronauts and the guys that go up to the space station, they have a lot of weird ailments when they come back. And I think it's a direct result. And remember, it's important to remember that some of these things, you don't see them until decades later. You think about a lot of the men who went to Southeast Asia who were exposed to Agent Orange. It was only in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that they started to get the hypertension and the diabetes and a lot of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and a lot of the things that they now link back to Agent Orange. It didn't really manifest until they were in their 50s and 60s and 70s. So, you're not necessarily going to see it. It's not like they're going to land with a brain tumor.
Is there any way that... Okay, let me rephrase this. If by chance there is a secret space program with men already on the moon, on Mars, Venus, Titan, wherever in the universe or in our solar system. And we've been able to figure out how to get them there, how to combat these cosmic rays and everything like that. How come we're not using it on the NASA astronauts?
Because then it would betray the existence of a secret space program. And I think one of the things you've got to figure out is, why do we have a secret space program? What's the objective of it? And I'm not one of the people that subscribes to the, they're dealing with aliens out in space and it's a solar system wide protection force or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's a much more simple, mundane but catastrophic answer. But I mean, people don't do things without a reason. Everybody's got a motive. There's always a motive or an agenda, right? I love your show. Obviously, I do the news. What's my motive? Well, I enjoy it, and maybe somebody will buy Paranoia Magazine or read an article I wrote and enjoy it, But there's always an objective behind it. Nobody really ever does anything just because. Maybe you volunteer at a food bank. You do it because you feel good and you feel like you're helping. Well, that's your motivation. So I think if you're going to have a secret space program, there has to be a motive. So I think it really comes down to the motive. The other thing that I would say is that in a lot of these, I've had this conversation a bunch of times, right? And once you can get past the idea of using chemical rockets, people become very resistant to the idea because they say, well, why aren't they using it in NASA? Why don't we have hypersonic airliners? Hell, they're in the Man with the High Castle. Why can't we have them now? Well, my answer to that is this. on a few occasions, very few, I've had the good luck to talk to people who are associated with DARPA. Now, DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's really where all black projects come from. They come from DARPA. A true DARPA guy will never tell you what they worked on. It's like if you talk to somebody who is really, really, really a spook, they're not going to tell you what they did. They just won't. The secrecy is just ingrained into them. It's a lost cause.
But unless you're TTSA.
Yeah, I don't buy that either. But the thing they will do is that they'll answer mundane questions. And so on 2 occasions, I've asked the same question of somebody who legitimately, honest to God, worked at DARPA. And I said, how far advanced are they? Is DARPA versus, me sitting out in my backyard right now? And in both cases, they said, well, what do you mean? Right? And I said, okay, are they like 50 years ahead of us in the commercial world? Oh, no. In both cases, oh, no, much more than that. Okay, like 100 years advanced? And in both cases, it was something equivalent to, no, probably about 150 years advanced. Now, as you pointed out, in the mid-40s, right, we were using prop planes, with the exception of the Germans. They had rocket planes, the Comet, and the Messerschmitt 262 was jet powered, and they had prototypes of other aircraft like the Flying Wing and the Horton Wing and some others. But for the most part, in the mid-40s, we were running on prop planes. By the mid-50s, we were designing the A-12. By the late 50s, we had built the A-12 and we were testing it. The A-12 flew higher and faster than the SR-71. And so you think about that for a minute, that in the space of 10 years, you go from a propeller plane to a hypersonic spy plane that flies at the edge of space, right? So if they're 150 years ahead of us, what does that tell you? It tells you they're way out there. They're in a quantum computing land and storing things on crystalline structures versus hard drives, and way more sophisticated than what we're dealing with. The problem is that it's defense related. So when Lockheed goes out and builds these things, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to admit to it because it gives our adversaries more knowledge about what we're working on. So they won't talk to it. But you can still see planes, that are flying with them.
I get that though. But if you look at Boeing, if you look at the name's escaping me. Okay, any major airline corporation, McDonnell Douglas, what's the one I'm missing? They fly the A380s. Why am I missing this already? Airbus, thank you.
Airbus.
If you look at any of the major corporations, I mean, the fastest 747 or 767, 777, 787, okay, they're only peaking at maybe 585 miles an hour. That's it. It's not very fast.
Well, that's their safety rating. That's their safety rating. The 757 actually at full power could approach Mach 1, but the airframe wasn't designed for it. I mean, Airbus has tested the A320 and the A380, in high-speed turns during safety tests, where it's exceeded that by a pretty sizable amount. That's just the cruising speed for safety. I understand with where you're going, but we've already had supersonic flight with the Concorde, and nothing really has replaced that speed at all, where you can get New York to London in 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
to me, that is very antiquated. If we're talking high supersonic, getting into hypersonic type aircraft in that Mach 5 to Mach 6 level, and if we're already breaking that, even on a defense side, we know we've gone up to Mach 3.3 with the SR-71 and the A-12. Right. There's no reason that Boeing or any of these other corporations shouldn't be in that 1.5 to Mach 2 type speed in order to get people where they need to go faster.
But the question that you have to ask yourself, and the Concorde was a perfect example of this. NASA built a hypersonic plane that could actually have served as an airliner. I don't think the problem is technology. The technology exists. I think the problem is cost. That when you're running an engine that hot with current turbine technology, when you're running an engine that hot, you're burning fuel, and it's a cost and it's a weight to thrust issue that you're trying to build something that's economical. Because look, you live in the great North. If you want to fly out of Vancouver and fly out to Winnipeg or you want to fly down to Chicago or whatever, you don't want to be paying $3,000 a ticket. You want to get on that A320, that Delta A320 where you're paying, $400, or you want to get on Southwest and you're paying $300, right? When I lived in England, we flew in Ryanair. I flew from Stansted to Skavsta, London to outside of Stockholm. I flew that for $40 round trip. You can't do that with hypersonic aircraft. They burn too much fuel. They also have to be too light, so you have to really limit the amount of baggage people can carry. Even with the Concorde was heavily subsidized, but it wasn't a big money maker because it was too expensive to operate and repair. So I don't think it's the problem that Lockheed and others they can't build it. I would take you back to a quote that Jan Harzan, who's the head of MUFON, heard at a Caltech alumni dinner where the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works said, "Not only do I have the technology to take ET home, I got the contract." Right? I think it's more about, with civil aviation, it's about a cost-benefit analysis of how you're going to make the most amount of money. And planes like the A320, like the A380, like these Canadairs, the CRJ 700s, the 500s and the 400s, they give you a nice balance where you can get people there pretty quick. It's a lot faster than driving or taking the train. And, it's not that expensive. So I think that's really the limiter in civil aviation.
I don't think so. I don't. Technology's improved.
Well, we have the technology. An F-4 Phantom can go at least Mach 1, right? And they were dropping bombs in Vietnam using an F-4 Phantom. They use F-4s for target practice. You can take that technology and mount it in a Learjet and break Mach 1. That's not the problem. The problem is cost.
And on that note, Olav, I got to cut you off because we got to go to break. Olav Phillips, our guest tonight. We're talking secret space program, the moon, space, wherever we get into. We got to get into Olav's beard for an update as well. More Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we passed the halfway point. For all of you with high-quality mustaches or beards out there, a good shout-out to you. Really appreciate it. You know, on the new website, we're just in the process of getting our new website launched. I think what we're going to have to do when we build the SOR Space Travelers is actually put a good section on there for you to submit your photos. If you got a high-quality beard or mustache, we got to promote that. Definitely need to promote that. For sure. I'm game for it, because Olav has a nice beard. How's your beard doing, Olav Phillips?
It's doing good. I trimmed it a little bit, so it wasn't so Unabombery, but it's feeling good. It's feeling good.
Yeah, I can hear you, man. So I do have to ask before we move on, how much training have you done this week? How much martial arts or boxing have you done this week?
None. I don't do that stuff.
So, in other words, you're not shopping on Black Friday?
No. No. I'm an Amazon guy. I order it on Amazon. It gets delivered to my house. It's quaint and efficient.
I know. All I'm saying is we definitely need to, wish all of those well, who have a good beard, nice hair, a nice mane, high quality mustache. We got to promote it. Anyways,
totally.
We were talking supersonic flight, hypersonic flight last half hour with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. There's a good correlation, right? When you think about in commercial aviation, right, the idea of having supersonic flight in commercial aviation, I think a good corollary is electric cars. We have the technology, we have the batteries, we have everything we need, but the cost to manufacture them has not come down yet. So if you want to get a Tesla, which is, the creme de la creme, you're paying $60,000, $70,000 for a car. And they have yet to get the battery so it can range far enough, to compete with a gasoline car. So we still sell gas cars. It's not that we don't have the technology. A Tesla is very fast, but the cost to manufacture it has not come down. Now, my next door neighbor has a Volt, and that's a much cheaper electric car, and it lacks the range, and it lacks, he can get to work, charge his car, and drive it home, and charge it to drive to work again. It isn't. the cost benefit isn't there yet. And what this is really all about is money. That, Delta Airlines knows that they can pack a bunch of people into an A320 and fly them from here to Chicago for fairly cheap. And they have a plethora of pilots that were trained on all kinds of different planes. A lot of them were ex-military, who flew cargo planes. And it's, you don't have to have the same kind of runways. You don't have the same kinds of problems. The engines are very well understood. I mean, you look at Southwest Airlines, right? One of the smartest things that Southwest did back in the old days when oil was incredibly expensive is that Southwest went out and bought oil futures. And so they pretty much had a fuel supply for their planes for like 5 years. And so they were able to stabilize the cost of flying their planes to Hawaii or Chicago or wherever, LA or wherever they wanted to go. They had a consistent fuel cost, and that allowed them to have very cheap rates to fly. You could do $99 from San Francisco to Las Vegas, right? But you can only do that in a plane that you understand. You know how many people you can cram in there, and we're not there yet for hypersonic commercial airlines. It's not that we don't have the technology; we have it. You don't even need DARPA for that. DARPA's way beyond that stuff. They're working on all kinds of exotic engines, scramjets, and pulse detonation engines, and there's another one aerospikes. And you know that they're using them. I mean, years ago, I came across a photo, and it was very clearly was a wing, like a bat wing looking plane, and it had two heat sources, and it was pretty obviously using a now the name escapes me again, a very advanced engine that can only be used at high altitude. And this particular engine, it going Mach 6, Mach 7 is easy. You would not be stressing the engine to go to Mach 6 in this thing. So the aerospike. So, the technology is already there. It's just, I don't think they can make the economics work.
What about the fact that there are these so-called black triangles that are ours, the TRB3?
TR3B.
TR3B. Why did I just forget that and sound like an idiot on the air? Wow. Bad, Dave.
No, you didn't.
Bad. Anyways, TR3Bs, and now people are talking about seeing these rectangular or square box type UFOs that really shouldn't have any reason flying whatsoever. I mean, it's getting weird in the skies what people are seeing, man.
My co-parent and my oldest son actually saw a rectangular object fly across the sky.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's one of those things where if you have anti-gravity technology, and the shape doesn't really matter. I mean, the shape matters insofar as that you'll get drag and things like that. But depending on how you're dealing with that, there are ways around that too. I mean, Lazar back in the late 80s and 89, when he started talking about the Sportster model, he was saying that the gravity amplifiers that are basically push the Sportster model UFO around, it creates like a shell around it. So at that point, you don't really have problems with like drag and other things. So, and you're not worried about lift. So you can have, a rectangular shaped thing fly across the sky. Because number one, it may have like a shell around it. And second of all, if it's using anti-gravity technology of some kind, you're not worried about wings and lift and control surfaces. So, yeah, it wouldn't matter.
Where would we hide that technology? I mean, I can't see it being at Area 51. Can't see it being at Wright-Patterson. I mean, those are pretty obvious aircraft to spot. Are they at Diego Garcia? Are they at some hidden island way up in Alaska or in the Pacific or Atlantic? Where are they basing these craft out of then?
Well, back in the 90s, there were rumors that the Aurora was flying out of Beale Air Force Base, because Beale had long been an SR-71 U-2 base. I think actually a lot of them do come out of Area 51 or, places out in the desert, either in California or Nevada. I took a trip to ESETI, James Gilliland's ranch, and we saw all kinds of weird stuff flying at high altitude. And they were coming out of the southeast, which if you get a map out and draw a line, I mean, you're looking right at Nellis and Area 51. I mean, if they want to hide this stuff, there's plenty of space. Out in the desert, little islands, although I don't know that Diego Garcia would not necessarily be a good idea because it's pretty much the whole island is a runway. But, there are other places that it could be done. If you're dealing with things that are anti-gravity, you don't need a runway. You just need a hole in the ground and a bunker, right? So it kind of depends on what you're dealing with. But I think a lot of it is stored underground in bunkers, at Groom Lake, Papoose Lake, which is where Lazar said that they were testing the sports model. But, you've got such a buffer zone around Area 51. And, the truth is that you can really only see them come in and go out at night, if you're using night vision or thermal cameras. But again, there are huge swaths of Canada that are just forest. There's huge swaths of California that are just desert. There's huge swaths of Nevada. Pretty much the whole state is a desert that's fairly remote. Utah. There are lots of places to hide. And you're talking about people who are experts at hiding stuff. There's a lot of unclaimed land, so to speak, right? So, and for example, drones, the General Atomics drones, like the Reaper and the Predator and all that, there's actually a airfield. I think it's inside of the Area 51. It's inside the Nellis Range, but it's where the Department of Energy airfield is. There's an airfield there that's in miniature, and it literally is an airfield for drones. And when you look at it from a satellite photo, it looks like an airport. And then you see some guys, Ford F-150 parked in the parking lot. You're like, wait a minute, that gas tank is awfully small. Oh, it's drones. So, if you really want to hide this stuff, there's plenty of places around the world to hide it. I don't think that's a challenge.
I think it's more of a...
You have the power of misidentification on your side, right? I mean, that's what they did with the A-12. The A-12s were flying around. They were silver. So you see a silver thing streak across the sky, and what's the government response? Oh, we didn't say anything. And then everybody goes, oh, it's a UFO. It's a UFO. Problem solved.
Got a question from Jade from last hour. And she is asking, is it true that memory is affected by the radiation or lack of, and that this was an issue in early space journeys until they figured that out?
I've heard that it is. I don't know for certain. I mean, I'm not a neuroscientist, but it was my understanding that exposure, heavy radiation exposure can fry some parts of your brain and cause damage on it.
Let's get back to the jets. Okay, so if they're parking these things at S4 or Area 51, Area 52 at Dugway, Wright Pat,
right.
Diego Garcia,
where I
still
think...
Patterson. Well, Diego Garcia, where I still think that Flight MH370 is hiding.
Okay.
That's my conspiracy theory. Tinfoil. Anyways.
Fair enough.
There is a lot of hiding spots. And is it, though, that you want to keep these aircraft? Maybe sometimes hiding it right in front of the faces is the best way to hide something? Would that be the theory on that?
You know, a wise man once told me that the best place to hide something is right in front of somebody. So I would go with a yes on that. You know, because what's the most powerful thing you have? Well, if somebody actually sees it take off, you know, you just say, I didn't see anything, and then it becomes a mystery. And whenever there's something in the air and it's a mystery, it's aliens. You know, so I think they have the power of misidentification. Yeah.
It's always aliens, though, my friend.
And don't get me wrong, I believe in aliens. I believe in aliens. I just don't think that there are a lot of them, and I don't think that they're going to save us or, you know, heal the earth or anything like that.
You're so negative.
Well, they haven't done it yet.
Joe in the chat room, the top of the Space Needle in Seattle is actually a UFO, hidden in plain sight. And I'm like, I thought that was the Wheel of Fortune wheel.
There's actually in Bulgaria, I want to say it's in Bulgaria, there's a huge building that was supposed to be this International Congress of Communism building that they call the UFO. It's falling apart now, but it's a big UFO-looking building out in the middle of a field. I think it's in Bulgaria.
We got about 5 minutes here before we got to go to our break at the top of the hour, Olav. So with these TR-3Bs or these square rectangular type craft, obviously they're using anti-gravity in order to get that. Do you think that's technology that we have found on this planet due to, or perfected on this planet due to the military-industrial complex, or do you think that is something extraterrestrial that we've maybe learned from our space friends or reverse engineering craft like from Roswell?
You know, the TR-3B is just one plane. I don't think that all triangular-shaped, quote-unquote, UFOs are TR-3Bs. I think there's a completely different kind that's much bigger. You know, my gut instinct is that we built it, we developed it, we figured it out. Maybe accessing some information from long ago, because I do believe that there were prior technologically advanced civilizations on the Earth. Maybe they were back engineered, but I think that that's a cover story. I don't think that our space friends are giving up their secrets. You know, supposedly there are a number of UFOs that crashed. Maybe we back engineered some of those, but I don't know. I'm of the opinion that we were smart enough to build them ourselves. So maybe we did. But yeah, it's possible we back engineered it. They seem too conventional. When you really look at them, like that photo I was talking about, you know, the way it's designed, it's too human. And there's a funny thing about UFOs, but I should probably get into that next hour. Just remind me, because there's a funny thing about their iconography. The UFOs, a lot of UFOs have iconography, like pictures on them. So, you know, that seems to indicate they're wholly made by people, humans.
That's just, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom, Olav, because the technology that would go into that, most of us, myself included, wouldn't even know where to start with that. I mean, many of us out there can't even change the oil of our own vehicle. And it's really embarrassing if you have a good... Well, I realize that.
You know, if it's it's like computers, right? Computers to most people are just mind-numbingly complex. But like to me, they're very simple. I don't think computers are very complicated at all. But that's my specialty, so I know how to do it. So, if you have a stealth engineer and he looks at a plane and says, gosh, I want to take this gigantic, ginormous plane, make it have the radar footprint of a rat, he can see it. He can actually see it in his head, how to make the shapes, how to change the profile. I wouldn't know where to begin because it's not what I was trying to do.
I don't even know how to Photoshop.
Photoshop's easy.
Yeah. I'm showing you the capacity that I have for playing on computers. But I'll tell you, I could break down a hockey game like anything. Anything.
Right. And I can't do that. I wouldn't understand the strategy of it or the logic behind certain decisions. I wouldn't even begin to fathom that. But I can edit the hell out of something on Photoshop.
Well, if you ever need any hockey knowledge, don't go to a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Come to me.
I'll come to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're my hockey oracle.
Hey, that's what it's all about, my friend. If you cannot hockey, you are wrong. We're converting you one person at a time.
I can't do a radio show. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Oh, sure you could.
But you can. We're all good at different things. Some people are good stealth engineers.
Well, the only reason why I have a radio show, my friend, is because I have a face for radio. You don't want to see this mug on television. You definitely do not want to. Yeah, well, you know what? As I told my friend, when I lived near Vancouver with all the beautiful people down there, I was a good solid 4.5. Now that I've moved up into the forest and seen some of the dudes around here, I'm a solid 5.9 to 6. Now, I've moved up in scale.
Yeah, but you're a forest kind of guy.
Oh, not really. Not really. Huh?
I'm a forest kind of guy.
Just because I own a chainsaw and can change the oil of my vehicle and have a beard.
I can do that too. Yeah. I don't fit into suburbia at all. I really don't. If you see a picture of me, I look like I belong in a forest.
You need a good-sized chainsaw, my friend. You need a good-sized chainsaw.
I have a big old chainsaw.
Nice.
A Husqvarna. Yeah.
Nice. I got a nice steel. The orange and white. On that note, we got Olav for one more hour after this break on Spaced Out Radio, Secret Space Program, and we got the SOR Newswire coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back with more Olav Phillips and Spaced Out Radio right after this. At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social media freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back for the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada is with us. We got Merle in the house for Ghosts of the Great White North. We're going to ask him about his hunting expedition, too. Oh, you guys will have a good laugh tomorrow. 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Say hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network at Deep Talk Radio. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Marivotage. Marivotage is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, and all of our news is provided by the SOR Newswire and Captain Shirk. You can read up on that and so much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce Olav Phillips. Actually, it's not the final time because you're our news guy as well. You're going to put on different hats coming up at the bottom of the hour, Olav, because we got to get to the news at the bottom of the hour. But we are talking secret space program and everything that goes along with it. Olav, welcome back.
Thank you.
Getting back to Ben Rich. All right.
Rich, that's right.
And then we get into what we've seen here with To the Stars wanting to build a rocket ship, what Elon Musk is doing, what Robert Bigelow is doing, what Sir Richard Branson is doing, whom I will be on a Discovery Channel show with on December 2nd, which is kind of cool. Deep Blue Hole of Belize. You want to check that out. 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, live. Old Davey will be having little snippets on there, which is kind of cool. Shameless plug there. But nonetheless, we have a lot of people wanting to build these craft, and yet they're still looking at old-type rocket technology. Why are they wasting their money on old-style rocket technology if we're into this new wave that the military-industrial complex has kind of brought forward?
Well, I think that's just it. It's hidden in the military-industrial complex. I don't think they have access to it. I mean, they're going to go with what they know. What they know is chemical rockets, right?
True.
I mean, Bigelow's thing was to build inflatable space stations. That's a completely different discussion. But as far as, SpaceX and, the thing that he does that's different is that he can land the bottom of the rocket. Where before, they either crash landed in the sea or they'd have parachutes or they were, spent. His thing is to re-land it. I mean, he wants to build spaceships too, but everything's based on it's a conventional point of view because this technology that exists in DARPA across the board, doesn't get released because it's defense related.
Do we know if Bigelow, with all of his backstage power with Black Ops and everything like that, do we know if he's involved with DARPA one way or another?
Oh, I would imagine that he is, especially given, what NIDS was doing out at the Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, there have been stories that they had DARPA guys out there, scientist types out there at the Skinwalker Ranch trying to analyze it. But yeah, I'm positive that he has connections into DARPA. Absolutely. But having connections into DARPA doesn't mean that you're going to get DARPA to release anything, right? It just means that you know somebody at DARPA. It doesn't mean that they're going to tell you anything. But I definitely believe that, at least for Bigelow, he's tied into the military-industrial complex, or he wouldn't have done what he did, and he wouldn't have bought the various things that he has bought. So, yeah, I think he's definitely in there tight.
So with that, for people who don't know what DARPA is, could you explain it to them?
Sure. Well, it's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And basically what it is it's an agency inside the military industrial complex, for lack of a better term, that handles super advanced research. So these people are doing cutting edge research into aircraft or weapon systems, computing, it goes across the board. But yeah, they're like the black projects people. The stuff that exists inside of DARPA may never see the light of day. Stanton Friedman, I mean, he worked on some stuff that was kind of like that back in the day. He worked on projects to put nuclear reactors in airplanes, right? Back in the 50s, that's a DARPA kind of thing from the 50s of miniaturizing a nuclear reactor to fit on an aircraft, right? So today, they would be dealing in quantum computing, hyperspace, teleportation, lasers, rail guns, all the stuff that you read about in science fiction. The DARPA are the people that are actually trying to make it happen. Tricorders, phaser pistols, and everything in between.
So is DARPA then more part of the military-industrial complex, or are they more about trying to get the technology for everybody on this planet moved forward?
It's a double-edged sword. I think that they very much are trying to push the envelope of technology, what technologies are available and what they can be used for. But, because it's a defense agency that eventually, like they do robotics, right? So let's say they perfect robotics. Okay, well, now they're going to figure out how to weaponize it. So weaponizing whatever they find is definitely part of the program because it is funded by the Department of Defense.
Interesting. So do they have bases of their own, or are they out in public, much like some of the aircraft companies around the United States, or are they based out of hidden areas like Area 51?
I think, they do work out of bases. You would see them at like the Redstone Arsenal and other places working on weapons projects out there, or Dugway, working on projects at Dugway, or at Area 51 working on projects, Palmdale. But, they're definitely, their work is inside of military installations. So if they're not going to be, they're not going to be doing something at, say, Stanford, right? They would take the guys from Stanford and send them to Dugway, right? If they were going to build some sort of an AI-driven autonomous tank, they may do some of the research at Stanford, but they would fly, because of SRI, they would fly out to Dugway to actually build it and to test it.
Interesting. We have had a lot of whistleblowers come forward, whether they're believable or not.
Right.
There's been one out of, one here, one there, Bob Lazar, David Adair. I mean, if you want to get into the mass conspiracy, Mark Richards, Captain K, even Corey Good for that matter, Max Spears, and there's a few others. Why have there then been so few people coming out as whistleblowers? I mean, literally, these projects, whether it's a secret space program, aliens and UFOs, whether it's DARPA, or whatever it could be, that takes thousands of men and women to put these projects together. And yes, they all signed confidentiality agreements and probably to the nth degree of security. But you would think that there would be more. Like if Area 51's been around for 50 years, you'd think there would be more than just Bob Lazar or John Lear or David Adair coming out and saying, this is what's going on right there.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it has to do with the profiling of the people that they let into those projects. When you get a very high level of security clearance, right, there's some level of psychological profiling that takes place. And I think they weed out the people that would be whistleblowers. I mean, in my life, I've only really ever dealt with 3. Something you would call a whistleblower. One was Lazar. I haven't talked to Bob in a long time, but for a while, I had a very healthy conversation with Bob. And I'll tell you, when you talk to him and you sit across his desk from him and you chat about stuff, I believe him. I don't know that what they told him was the truth, but he definitely, absolutely 150,000% believes what he's saying. And he's been very consistent about what he said. The only 2 others, one guy, I was on Ground Zero talking about the secret space program, and in the last 5 minutes of the show, an old man called in, and he said he refused to give his name, obviously, and he said that he had worked on a top secret program down in Southern California. He alluded to it being in the Antelope Valley in the late 70s. This is pre-Ronald Reagan and Star Wars. This would have been Jimmy Carter, under Jimmy Carter's time. And he worked at this facility. He was guarded by U.S. Marshals. And they built, I think he said they built 3 satellites. 2 were killer satellites with lasers that were in equatorial orbit that were pointing outwards to shoot down whatever they were told. The third was a hunter-killer that was actually autonomous and mobile, and it could actually move around and shoot stuff. And this was in the mid to late 70s that he worked on this. So it predated the Star Wars program under Ronald Reagan, which I think was in like 1980 or 81. He was on the phone. He said his piece. He said, okay, I'm done. Click. And he hung up. The other guy was a weird one. I was in college at the time, and a guy called me at 8 a.m. sharp, exactly 8 a.m., and he says, is this Olav? And I said, yes. And, I'm groggy, right? And I'm in college. It's 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'm groggy. And he says, is this Olav? And I said, yes. He said, do you run the S4 database, which was the website I ran at the time? I said, yes. And he said that they're testing stuff out of Beale. I said, okay. He goes, I know the schedule, so I'll take you out there and you can see it. I said, okay. And he said, okay, I'll call you back later. Click. And I was on the phone with him for 45 seconds max. I mean, it was under the amount of time it would have taken to trace it. And I lay down, and my girlfriend at the time, now co-parent, she says, oh, who was that? And I said, I don't know, some guy. I didn't even know he didn't even tell me his name. Some guy called up about the website. She's like, what? I said, well, he said they were testing some exotic aircraft at Beale, and then he'd take me out there, and he knew the schedule on it. And I told her, I said, I don't know, sounds kind of cranky to me. I don't think I would go. She goes, wait a second. She goes, did you put our phone number on the website? And I said, well, of course I didn't do that. And she says, okay, then how did he get our phone number? I said, I don't know. She says, well, our phone number is unlisted, right? And I said, yes, it's unlisted. She goes, well, how did he get the phone number? And to this day, I still can't tell you how he got the phone number, but he never called back. So really, those are the three run-ins I had with what you would term as a whistleblower. The one guy never called me back. One guy was on the radio, and then Lazar. And in my experience, for what it's worth, I actually had a really good conversation with Joseph Farrell about this at the Secret Space Conference. In my experience, I've never come across a whistleblower that, aside from Lazar, that I believe or that can keep it going. And for my research, I don't rely on whistleblowers. I look it up. I just do the research. It's there. You just have to hunt for it. But I really don't do whistleblowers. It's dangerous for them, for me, for everybody. And I haven't seen really that many in the conspiracy world that really can hold it together. There are a few. Danny Castellero had some, and he ended up dead in a bathtub. There are a few others, but usually if they're legit, it ends badly. And if they're not, the vast majority of them, I don't think are legit. Because I don't think, I think the psychological profiling weeds them out. Every DARPA guy I've ever talked to is very secretive. They will not tell you anything at all.
And you got to understand that secretiveness, or that secrecy, pardon me.
Sure.
You have to, and you got to respect that, and I understand it. And I think it's something that, when you join certain organizations or places of work, there are things that you can and cannot say. I think that's really the reality of it all. And if we want to, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, and let's not forget that, you're dealing with defense issues here, right? I may be a proud member of the Tinfoil Hat Club and a conspiracy researcher, conspiracy geek, conspiracy nerd, whatever you want to call me. But I absolutely believe that there are secrets that need to be kept, for our defense posturing, for our safety as a country. There are absolutely secrets that should be kept. I don't think that we have a right to know everything, and I don't think we want to know everything. There are things that I don't want to know. I really don't, But I think some secrets need to be kept, and I think they hire people that do keep them. That's for sure.
Do you think they are the ones leaking out the information then, whether it's Lazar, Adair, or whomever it may be?
Well, Adair had problems. Adair had background problems, as did Lazar. But, Lazar, I think it was accidental. If you look at Lazar's story, I think it was accidental. He knew when they were running the tests. He took Gene Huff and John Lear out there to watch him with his wife. They got caught. I don't think he planned to get caught. They got caught. And then I think he went for broke to save himself, because the people that he was dealing with, Dennis Miriani, who was running the security, I've seen I touched the bullet hole in the back of his car. He had a Corvette, and they were shooting at him. They put a round through the back of his Corvette. I've seen the hole. It's there, you know. So, you know, in the case of Lazar, it was accidental. I don't think he set out to be a whistleblower. I think he did it to save himself. Because he's always been very shy about it. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. You know, he made a video. He wrote a screenplay. Well, Gene Huff wrote a screenplay about it. I have a copy of it. You know, he just never really seemed that interested in running the gauntlet and doing the circuit. You know, he was much more interested in doing United Nuclear and selling scientific equipment than really doing anything about his story. It seemed more like a save my ass kind of situation than actually whistleblowing per se.
Right. We only got a couple minutes here before we got to get to the bottom of the hour in the news, Olav, where you're going to put your journalistic hat on, your press hat.
Right. A press hat.
Yeah. When it comes to secret space program, where can people find quality information and not woo type crap?
You know, if you're looking for the Bell, stuff about the Bell, I think Joseph Farrell is fantastic. It all originates from Igor Witowski. His book about secret weapons of the Luftwaffe, secret projects of the Luftwaffe, has been translated in English. So I would definitely look for Igor Witowski. Trying to think. You know, Walter has some very, very interesting stuff. Walter Bosley, about the early, you know, the Arrows and the early kind of entrance into the secret space program. You know, Walter kind of takes it up to World War II, and then I take it from there. But I think that Farrell is fantastic. Witowski's fantastic. Nick Cook took Witowski's story and talked about it in The Hunt for Zero Point. There's some stuff in there. You know, the biggest thing is not for me to rattle off a bunch of names. I think the biggest thing is to apply what's called Occam's razor, right? When you go buy this stuff and you read it, because I'm like you, the listener, right? I buy the books and I read them. I apply Occam's razor. It comes from William of Ockham. And basically what Occam's razor is the simplest answer is probably the right one. You know, does it make sense? Is what they're trying to say make sense to you? Right? Mm-hmm. You know, don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Go do the research. See if it makes sense to you. Right? I found a picture of what looks like a space station. Right? Really, I did. And it's like, look at the photo. Decide if you think it looks like a space station. You know, don't take my word for it. You know, figure it out. And so if the book looks interesting, you know, I enjoyed Dark Mission by Mike Barra and Richard Hoagland. There are things in there I agree with, things that I don't. I like Nick Redfern is fantastic, though I don't think he's done a whole lot about the secret space program. But Mike Barra has written some interesting stuff in his books. You know, some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. But you kind of have to cherry pick the stuff that you think makes sense. And just keep an open mind and keep open eyes. You know, look for it. If you look for it, you'll find it.
And on that note, we are going to head out to our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. Olav Phillips will return with the news right after this, so stick around as we head for home at the bottom of the hour on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rockin'. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekends. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is spaced out radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We've rounded third. We're headed for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Olav Phillips has been our guest tonight, talking Secret Space Program, whistleblowers, the moon, and everything in between. But now he's shifting gears and getting ready for the SOR Newswire. We welcome you to the SOR Newswire. We do it the final part of the show every single night with Olav Phillips from Paranoia Magazine at paranoiamagazine.com. She comes in to do the SOR Newswire as we talk about the weird, the wacky, and the WTF every single night. We welcome in the president of Team Stump, Olav Phillips. How you doing?
Still doing okay.
All Olav all the time tonight.
Yes. You know it.
Been interesting. Been interesting, man.
I think so.
Been interesting.
I think it has been.
For sure.
Good conversation.
So what's been happening in the news today, my friend?
Oh, boy, where to begin? Just a plethora of news that's assaulting my senses. You ready for number one?
Let's get to it.
This just in, attempted gas thief lights his own pants on fire. Security cameras outside an organ store were recording when a man attempted to siphon gas from a U-Haul truck, lit his own pants on fire. Portland Fire Rescue investigators said the U-Haul truck and a van were found engulfed in flames around 7 a.m. Monday, and a security camera footage from a nearby store recorded a man fleeing the scene with his pants on fire. Investigators say they determined the man had been trying to use tubes to steal gas from a U-Haul truck when the fuel apparently ignited. Something ignited that gasoline, and it caught fire. We don't believe this is what the individual intended, Lieutenant Rich Chapman from Portland Fire and Rescue told Coin TV. So he goes to steal some gas from a U-Haul, catches his pants on fire, burns his van and the U-Haul truck to the ground.
you know what? I laugh at this story because it is so Darwin. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It is.
It is so Darwin. But on the flip side, my friend, I will say this. With gas prices out of hand everywhere in North America, especially up here, it's surprising it doesn't happen more often that people are lifting gas from places like U-Haul parking lots. I mean, gas is getting out of hand. It really is.
It is. And what's odd is that the cost per barrel of oil is like at an all-time low.
I know. Here's a stupid Canadian fact. All right, Canada has the third largest oil reserves in the world. The world. And yet, for some reason, we are importing $17 billion worth of OPEC oil annually. It's like we can't supply ourselves to bring the cost down.
I know.
And yet you fly to the Middle East, you can fill up a pickup truck for like $12. Go online, you can see it.
And there's another thing that's very interesting. There's so much money in the Middle East that there are all these abandoned cars in like parking structures. And basically what people do is that they'll buy like a Lamborghini and they'll drive it around until they destroy it. And then they'll basically, it'll have some sort of a mechanical failure. And they just pull over and leave it. They don't even fix it. They just go buy another one.
I know.
If
it's ridiculous.
If you want a Darwin Award winner, this one's really good. Ready?
Yeah.
New Orleans man accused of bomb threat insists he just had to poop really bad. Police said that the suspect told employees at Willie's Chicken Shack, "Y'all about to close right now because I'm going to get a bomb and blow this place up."
Wasn't it? I'm going to drop a bomb? Drop a bomb?
As jokes go, this one was really crappy. You might even say that it bombed. A New Orleans man accused of threatening to blow up a local restaurant last Tuesday told police it's all a big misunderstanding. He just was referring to a bowel movement. According to the arrest warrant obtained by NOLA.com, 38-year-old Arthur Posey walked into Willie's Chicken Shack and asked an employee what time the restaurant closed. When the employee told Posey she didn't know, he allegedly replied, "Y'all about to close right now because I'm going to get a bomb and blow this place up." The restaurant employees told police that Posey got very angry during the discussion. He later told police that he was referring to the restroom and that he wasn't making any real threats, according to WGNO. The employees also said he never mentioned the bathroom when he made his alleged threat. Posey faces 2 counts of communicating false information of planned arson, and he will also need to appear in court for a competency hearing. And he's going to drop a bomb.
Whatever happened to high-quality potty humor? Seriously.
I think you just got it.
Well, I realize that, but I mean, people, are we that much on edge that, you know, this used to be funny, you know, and now people are calling the cops on it? I guess we're that much on edge.
I think so. Well, I think we're pushed to be on edge. You know, it keeps the populace docile if you're constantly scared of everything.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? You know?
It is the truth.
I mean, granted, the gentleman should have probably worded that differently. All right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to light this place up. All right. I told you were going to enjoy that one.
Well,
you told me, don't tell me the news before you go on the air. I said, okay.
You know, I mean,
what you pay me for, man. You got to get the real news.
That was good. That was good. That was good. Give me another one.
All right. I have to take a deep breath for this one.
All right.
Police lock up angry raccoons drunk on crabapple hooch until they sober up.
Good.
At least one of the raccoons, initially thought to be drunk, is now believed to have had distemper, a serious viral illness, police said Thursday. That raccoon has been euthanized. Police added that they hope the other raccoon was in fact drunk and is thriving in the wild. Earlier, reports of rabid raccoons terrorizing a West Virginia neighborhood turned out to be exaggerated. The raccoons didn't have rabies. They simply found some fermented crab apples and apparently are rather slurry drunks. We have had calls on suspected rabid raccoons twice over the last 2 days, the Milton Police Department wrote on Facebook. Turns out they appear to be drunk on crab apples. The department released a mugshot of one of the masked suspects. Police recently hauled the 2 drunk raccoons, although catching them was a community effort. After the animals sobered up, the officers released them into the woods unharmed. Do not approach raccoons that are acting unusual, police said. Call the authorities just in case the creatures are ill rather than drunk. So drunk raccoons.
You got to watch out for them. They are dangerous. They are dangerous.
Oh, it's been a banner night. It's been a banner night. We've had drunk raccoons. A guy that wanted to drop a bomb at Willie's Waffle Shack, and a dude who lit his pants on fire while he was stealing gasoline. I'd say it's a pretty good night for the news.
That is a great night for news. You know, great night. You know, I got one for you here. I don't know if you heard this story. All right. But apparently in a school district, I think it's a university in the United States. They are telling their professors and teachers not to talk, text, or write words in capital letters because it may hurt students' feelings. They may get upset over it.
All right.
Because you know, with caps lock on, words are dangerous.
It's like yelling. That's what it represents. Yelling.
Yeah. Leeds University has banned teachers from using frightening capital letters. The story is being denied, of course.
Of course.
Right? But either way, it came out. Could be fake news, could be not.
Where's it all going?
But there have been a number of reports flooding social media that the lecturing staff in the Department of Journalism had received a strange request and a memo warning that a lack of clarity when explaining assignments could generate stress and anxiety in students. Now, the university, of course, is denying this. You know? But if we really, I thought safe rooms were a joke. I really did.
They are not. They are not.
Really? They are totally a joke.
Safe rooms? Totally. Like bullet resistant?
No. You know, the hurt my feelings rooms.
Oh, I've never seen one of those.
Oh, yeah. They're all over campuses now. All over campuses. Somebody hurt my feelings.
I read a study that said that Generation Y and millennials are like the most stressed out generation ever. Now, I'm a Gen Xer. If you go by that, my cohort is Gen X.
Right.
And we were brought into a world where we didn't trust anything. And everybody was out to get us. And there's a kind of generic distrust of organized groups amongst Gen Xers. But the millennials and Gen Y, they appear to suffer from extreme levels of anxiety. And it's apparently like a whip back from Gen X. Because we were distrusting and angry and they went the opposite direction and they have a lot of empathy and feel a lot of anxiety, especially social anxiety. So I'm not surprised.
Well, you know what? If you think about it, it was 70 years ago where 18-year-olds were being sent off to war to save the world. And now they need a safe spot in university because feelings and words hurt. Whatever happened to growing up? I don't know.
Well, 40 years ago, my dad was going to be drafted, so he volunteered to go to Southeast Asia.
Right.
You know, and you had an entire generation of people that were just rounded up, given 2 months training, sent into a jungle and told to shoot people. You know, and now you have all these people coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. You know, I mean, it's almost like the whip back from us saying we don't trust anything, it's all out to get us, is that we produced a generation that is scared of everything.
You got that right.
But that's how psychology works. Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to go to the thought of the Dave.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do that, shall we? Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Why? Well, probably because we love the audience participation around these parts. So today's Thought of the Dave is as followed. How many UFOs reported do you think are our craft? What's your thoughts? Got some good responses today. Aussie Rob, going to kick it off there. How's tomorrow looking? Well, the one I saw last night, now I'm not saying it was alien, but it did not flash the normal green and red of a plane or jet, did not have a trail like a meteorite, and was going way too fast to be the International Space Station. That was over Africa, according to the tracker. Would have needed some type of gravity stabilizers from the speed it was traveling, so probably a few of them, but not all. Natasha, she's pretty accurate, Olav. She says 17%.
Exactly 17%.
Brett? I'm going to speculate with the majority are ours. Not sure the ET folks are ready to cough up the tech to let us screw around with the full tilt boogie interdimensional tech quite yet. You gotta have a certain level of responsibility that comes with getting the bigger toys. Kevin and Kevin's beard, they agree with Brett as well. Mooney, all the crafts they are able to photograph in focus are manufactured by humans. That's a good point. Coral, I've seen a couple of fast walkers, which I think were theirs. I don't believe we've got an alternate propulsion system that allows us to travel that fast yet. October, 30 to 60% maybe? Cody, 15%? Gail, we have no idea because there is insufficient information provided by official sources to give a number or a percentage. But out of respect to the brave people who report seeing UFOs and standing in solidarity with them, I'll say none is ours. And the things seen around the world are all off-world craft. Uncle Dale and his power stash. If a craft sticks with normal aerodynamic flight, there is no reason to think that it is ours. If it does things like uncurved 90 or 180-degree turns, then it isn't our technology. Lisa says more than half. Kelly has got a pretty fine beard himself. I don't believe that all of them are ours. It makes me wonder how many people mistook the F-117 or the B-2 as a UFO, especially the latter. From what I remember, nobody heard anything about it until it bombed the crap out of Iraq in the 90s. To me, seeing the B-2 without knowing about it would freak me out. Mary says 99% at least. Curtis is at 10%. The Ukrainian watermelon is at 99.9%. Penman, 5%, but it's hard to determine. There were a lot of craft around before we had the means to capture them and reverse engineer them. Quite a number of UFOs that I have seen definitely are not from our neighborhood, so to speak. Adnome, That would depend on if mankind is of this world or other worlds, like Dave is of the gnome world. Really? Really?
That's pretty good.
Daniel, probably 40% with the amount of time we have had. The tech, the ET, still have more than that in the sky. Mr. Skeptic, all of them. You can see how successful our saucer tech is, soaring to enormous heights, stable as could be, not the least bit clumsy or unwieldy. And he put a little video of them trying to fly a disc. I think that one's out of Cold Lake, Alberta. CFB Cold Lake. It's ridiculous. Thank you for that. WGFA. She's from the UK. Not many. Okay. I'd like to think they're visitors from other planets or dimensions. It would be plain boring if they were all secret government craft. And on that note, Olav, that's the last one for the night. Tell us where everybody can find Paranoia Magazine.
ParanoiaMagazine.com, Paranoia Magazine on Facebook, Paranoia Mag on Twitter, and Paranoia Mags on Instagram.
Appreciate that, my friend. Don't forget, you can find all of our news by going to spacedoutradio.com, clicking on the news tab, and boom, there it is. All of Captain Shirk's work. You can also read my blog on there as well. Thank you so much for doing this tonight, Olav. It's been an absolute pleasure to get 3 hours speaking of all the great stuff that we did tonight.
It was a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Really appreciate that, my friend. You hold on. We got Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. Yeah, Merle is back. We call him Merle these days. We got Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com tomorrow night. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up with the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you for tuning us in. Big thank you to everybody at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter, on Spreaker in the chat room. Thank you for showing on up and chatting away. The SOR Space Travelers, you love my Tuesdays now, don't you? Absolutely. Everyone on Rev Radio, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for sharing the show, doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I'll talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.